On top of our regular Cost Explorer, we also have a dedicated Cost Explorer for Kubernetes. And the reason for this is very simple. Kubernetes is a very extremely popular service, and it's also a big blind spot, as we usually see the prices of the cluster, but we're blind as to what's happening within the cluster. Using umbrella cost will help fix this, as we can dive into the actual cluster and show you exactly what's running in the cluster and what costs those are costing. So this is the default view. This is probably what you would see in most systems, the cost of 2 clusters. But as you can see, we can dive into the cluster. We can see the actual nodes and, for example, the node groups that are running here. And we obviously can price those accordingly. So we know how much each node group is costing, and we also factor in here any savings plans, reservations, or spot instances to give you very exact pricing for the node groups. Once we know how much the node groups cost, we look deeper into the system and we can see all pods running on those node groups. Now we know which node group the pod is running on. We know how much that node group is costing us, as we previously saw that. And we look at the resource allocation of the pod compared to the node group to work back exactly how much that pod is costing us. And now we have a better view, or we have an exact view of how much every pod in the system is costing us. We also have a calculation of wastage. This wastage will be calculated and used back in our recommendation engine to give you cost reduction recommendations. Going deeper than the pods, we can actually go to the namespace. Now the namespace would be the place where we can actually see the microservices that we're running, and we can see now exactly how much each namespace is costing us. This would be very useful if we have to calculate customer costs, if we're hosting environments for customers as a SaaS provider, or running multiple projects in a single cluster. Finally, we also bring back Kubernetes pod labels. So any pod labels that have been configured at the cluster level, we can see them, and we can also see tags. So we can also factor all of these into our filtering. One of the options we have is we also break down the cost of compute, data transfer, and storage. So if you need to understand how much you're paying for data transfer within your cluster, we can simply turn off the 2 other options, hit apply, and now we can see the actual costs just of data transfer. In this case, we can see it's $400 for the month. And if we just want to see the storage, we can see that the storage is just shy of $500 for the month. And obviously the main price would be the compute. So we can turn on just the compute, and we can see that the overall price for the compute is $17,000. And obviously turning all 3 back on will give us the total costs for our cluster.